Facebook, depending on where you are in the world. It's Jerry coming to you from the Rythmia Life Advancement Center in Guanacaste, Costa Rica. Rythmia is a super unique place that incorporates holistic practices, medicine, plant medicine, farm to table, organic food, yoga, meditation, breath work, all into one beautiful week that results in a soul merger. And this place is phenomenal. How can I say that? Almost 16,000 people through the doors. And 97.99%, we're going to go over 98% within the next 4 weeks, have had a life-changing miracle during their stay, self-reported electronically. Better yet, 6 months later, another survey is sent to these people. 90.22% say that miracle is still working in their life and that this was the week that changed their life. So it's an amazing place. And because of that, we attract all kinds of talent that could go anywhere in the world, and yet they come here. Kelly Slater, the surfer, Cesar Millan, the dog whisperer, Martin Luther King's son, Martin, Michael Bernard Beckwith, Ron White, are all on our board of directors. Jack Canfield, that's just our board of directors. I mean, actors, actresses, billionaires, musicians, all come here. And normal people just like you and me come here to have this experience. And when I tell you the experience is amazing, it's a life changer. Now, this particular broadcast is called Toolbox Essentials, What's Needed for Manifesting Success. This is number 7. Last week, I talked about the fallacy of easy, of making things easy, but I want to get back to why we're talking about that. After you have this thing called a soul reclamation or a soul merger, what naturally comes next to the overwhelming vast majority of people who come here is this intense desire to become a beneficial presence on the planet. And that is a big thing, because we move off the liability side of the universal balance sheet to the asset side. What does that mean? That means it's no longer what's in it for me. You change your life to what can I do for others? How can I become a beneficial presence? And then this beautiful ceremony unfolds, and that ceremony is the rest of your life of becoming this thing to be a beneficial presence on the planet. It's a lifelong ceremony. And it's super, 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 super valuable. Now, is it easy? Absolutely not. It'll be the most difficult thing you've ever done. Is it worthwhile? It's going to bring you more than you could ever imagine. It is the ultimate journey. It's going to bring you more than you could ever imagine. It's going to be harder than you ever thought. It's going to take longer than you thought. And it's going to test and break every aspect of you in the process. Why? Because all progress comes out of strife. So what do I mean by that? Well, you can't strengthen a bone without loading it. You can't strengthen a muscle without tearing it. Everything in life is every gain is the result of being pushed past what's comfortable. You can't lose a pound without saying no to a meal. There's a lot of different things that are looked at when it comes to dietary stuff, but there's a sacrifice involved with progress all the time. There's no way around it. There is no way around it. And if you see, there are freaks of nature where the progress happens before the sacrifice, but the after party of that is always failure. What do I mean by that? Take a look at the music business, one-hit wonders. Hey, we just stumbled onto this great song, and then they're gone. So what's the harder way? The Rolling Stones way, the Aerosmith way, the Kanye way. They're the harder ways, right? So I'm going to tell you that there is no progress without pain. Now, there are a lot of people that don't understand that. They've read something and I get a lot of comments about this. A lot of questions get posed to me about this process and why it's hard. Because it is hard. You know, if it were easy, everybody would be doing it. Every billionaire that I know, tells me about how in the beginning, the first 10 years, nobody would believe them. Nobody would invest in them. The banks would say no to them. All of these things, and not just one billionaire. Every billionaire I talk to, everyone has the same story. I have a friend who sits on my board, Tony Coe. She sold her company for $500 million, but it was a 30-year process. My friend Papa John, the pizza man, a 30-year process, right? These are, and not 30 years of joy and bliss, 30 years of struggle and strife. And this is where the mentality comes in. That when you decide you want to become a beneficial presence, what you're going to buy into is a different way of living. Instead of getting, you're giving. And in the giving, it is hard. Now, it's front end loaded. It's harder at the front and easier at the back. Take a look at my friend Michael Beckwith, one of the greatest speakers I've ever come across in my life. Just this fabulous speaker. And I mean, can rival that of Martin Luther King. Like, he is just an incredible orator. When he talks, it's fabulous. He's been doing it 45 years. So in the beginning, it wasn't that way. Michael Jordan, in the beginning, it wasn't that way. Tiger Woods, in the beginning, it wasn't that way. Papa John, in the beginning, it wasn't that way, right? So all of this hard work is front end loaded, and that's why you can't quit. I'll tell you, quitters. So if you take a look at the pain band in becoming a beneficial presence, building a huge company, or becoming a great master of a particular art, that's a decade thing. But in the beginning, the first 7 years are the hardest. And then it starts to get easier. It starts to get easier 7 years, 8 years, maybe 9 years in a lot of cases, 10 years. It starts to get easier. But the hard arc is in the very, very beginning, the first 3 to 5 years. That's the hardest. Now, if you're someone who picked this vocation out of a place that wasn't whole, as soon as you get to some stage in that hard part, you give up. And then you go back into startup mode, and you do it again, and then you give up, and back into the hardest thing. And you're always, and the thing is this, it always looks exciting, and then you start, and you're in the hard part again, and you quit. You're in the hard part again, and you quit. You're in the hard part again, and you quit. Now, if you talk to these billionaires, and I'm lucky enough to be able to call some of them my friends, right? They will tell you that you keep pushing through the hard part until the world tells you no. So what does that mean? You keep running that business until you can't run it anymore. You keep in that job that's a struggle until you get fired. Why? Because that builds your character. In a David Goggins sense, that builds your character and your strength for your next event. So I clearly get what this is because I did it in my own life. I sold a company for $90 million through a process of not quitting, being fired and restarting. And I'm going to tell you that all of the well-wishers that are telling you to give up into don't go any further and it doesn't make any more sense, this is baptism by fire. They're forging you in to the phoenix. By you staying in the hardest part of the process, you are burning your metal into the bird. That's what you're doing. So stay with it and don't leave it for any outside influence. Now, a lot of times when we're in the process, we evolve. So the business that you agreed to start like this changes how it looks as it goes on. And you're constantly making micro adjustments, and that's a different thing. I'm talking about quitting, abandoning, and starting over. You will, if you ever saw someone that opened 5 or 10 businesses in their life and stopped right before they got good, they look like they're 1,000 years old because it's such a hard process. I'm going to tell you, sticking with it is the key. And sticking with it starts by picking it from a merged place. What is a merged place? After you have a soul merger, you do things from more of a place of how can I be of service? How can I be a beneficial presence on this planet? Whether that's building a family, whether that's building a community, a church, becoming an artist, starting a business, a bakery, a donut shop, whatever, how you're going to add joy to someone's life. When you do it from this whole place. Although many days you're going to feel like quitting, you are not going to quit. And the key to the success of the thing is not quitting. It's sticking and sticking and sticking. And there will be those who love you around you who are going to tell you, hey, you're crazy. You're making a mistake. You were never a good dancer. Why are you sticking with dance? Our family isn't good at business. Why are you sticking with that business? Oh, there were easier jobs you could have taken. Look, you can go work for the post office. Like whatever they're saying, they're trying to help you, but they're not. That you're the one that wants to forge yourself into this greater thing. And you can't do that by giving up. You cannot do it by giving up. You can't do it by slowing down. You have to do it by doing more and sticking with it harder and doing the hardest work, the part that nobody wants to do. All of us want to do the parts of the business that we love. Everybody wants to cook the food. Nobody wants to wash the dishes, right? Everybody wants to play, to rip the solo, but nobody wants to practice for 13 years to get perfect at it. So what I'm telling you is that when you take the whole thing on, you have to service all parts of it. So if you just do the parts that you love, what happens? What happens to the farmer who just likes to eat the corn and doesn't like to plant it? The same thing happens to you. All of these parts are like, I'm going to tell you right now, Tuesdays are meeting days for me. And I've been doing Tuesday meetings for 43 years. I started my Tuesday meetings in my first business when I was 17. I've been doing them a long time. And there's lots of parts of them I don't like. I love talking to you, and I love talking to guests who are at Rythmia, and I love talking in a workshop, and I love all that stuff. But the business side, I don't love. But I still got to do it. It's still part of what I got to do. I'm a 60-year-old guy, and I hope I'm lucky enough to do that for another 10, 20 years. And that's the part that I don't like. So I'm going to tell you that if you can't sacrifice, now this is the thing, if you can't sacrifice yourself for the thing, it ain't either you're not merged or it ain't the thing. Do you understand? So if you're trying to make a deal with the universe, they'll work kind of hard and I want kind of a result, you're going to lose because the universe does not reward half efforts. It doesn't. And I explain it like this. If you were throwing a basketball on a free throw line at a hoop, right, and you used a half effort, how many shots would you make? 0, because the ball would only go halfway. Everything that the universe rewards is a full effort. Now, when does flow occur? Near the end. Near the end, flow occurs. All of a sudden, things start happening. The universe is convinced that you're ready to go to the next level. Everything comes in circles around you and starts to propel you. That happens, but it happens after you obtain mastery. And that's hard. That is so hard. The mastery part is hard. So I'm going to tell you that the rythmia process is come and get merged. And then from there, pick this from the most wholesome place in your heart. And then expect the roughest time you've ever had. But in that journey of roughness, you start to get fulfillment and contentment. And that's the best you're going to do. Bliss is fleeting, but fulfillment and contentment can be a constant. And you can live in that constant journey. And that's my goal for everyone. I would love to see everybody feel that. And so that's my essentials for today is stop complaining and don't quit. Do not quit. Irrespective of everything, do not quit because the gold is there. And I want to tell you something. When it starts to flow, there aren't buckets big enough to catch it. And what I mean by that is all of the benefits of your mastering this beneficial presence, when it starts to yield, it produces more love, more joy, more help for the universe, more wealth, more happiness, more contentment than anything you could ever imagine, ever. It doesn't happen in proportion. It all is back and loaded. It all flows at the back. So do not give up and don't expect it to be easy and don't expect to get a break and don't expect that somebody's going to help you, because the real thing is all of the help that comes your way is only after you've broken through the barrier. Then everybody wants to help you. Every bank wants to help you. Every banker wants to help you. Every person wants to help you because you're on your way. The train is leaving and people love to hop on the moving train and they push it faster than you could push it. But until they're convinced that it's moving, they're probably against you. So you have to do the work. You push through the thing. It's going to be lonely. There's going to be times that you really want to quit. There's going to be times you run out of money. There's going to be times that your health isn't good. There's going to be times that you want to quit. It doesn't matter. You just keep going. You just keep going. People say, wow, that sounds really hard. I say, you know what really sounds hard to me? To be 60 or 70 years old and to sit down and to have missed all of this because you wouldn't do this work. That's what's terrible. That's the alternative. So really, there is no alternative. Okay, good. That's my message for today. I'm glad that you could hear that. And I'm wishing all you the best. My arm is mending. I'm going to play golf. They told me it would take me 9 months to a year to play golf. I'll be playing golf in 6 months. And I'm super excited to be a part of the Rythmia program. Next week, we have Jack Canfield. Is it next week, Jack Canfield? No. I think it's a couple weeks out. We have Jack Canfield, which is going to be an amazing week. And we look forward to seeing you here. Please get to Rythmia. Do yourself a favor. Get in the game. And we'll see you next week.